Hey everyone, this is Nitro. In this video, I am going to be talking about the new major update that will be released for Langrisser Mobile on December 19th. Now, this is actually major update number 12, but for some reason, in-game, they incorrectly identified it as the 10th major content update. So it is what it is. But it will be called the Returning Magic Sword, and it's actually a big surprise, because we were all expecting to get the Yu Yu Hakusho banners, the first one, and instead, we are getting Rainforce and Betty in this banner. So it looks like Yu Yu Hakusho has been delayed for international. We are getting the Rainforce and Betty one instead. Now, if we quickly just go to the banner guide for the Chinese server, this banner was actually supposed to come in mid-January, right? January 16th to January 29th is when Rainforce and Betty was originally supposed to come, after the two Yu Yu Hakusho banners. So we'll see what's going on here. Maybe they just rotated the banner order, right? We get Rainforce and Betty first, then the Yu Yu Hakusho banners, or but we'll see what happens. That is the most likely situation right now, but no guarantees yet. This is a big surprise to me, in all honesty. So, I will have to go over Rainforce and Betty in this video before, but I'll go over them in brief after I go over this major update. So let's just jump back into the game and talk about what the major update contains. First of all, of course, is the banner with Rainforce and Betty, but other than that, this update will start the increase of the level cap, right? We're currently capped at level 60 for our heroes. This update will start raising the level cap, and it's raised to level 62. They will slowly raise it towards 70, so slowly but steadily, we will get a max character level increase for all our characters. In addition to that, there is the new strategic evolution, all new training field upgrades. What this includes is that there will be 31 new technologies overall, as well as 6 new heroes and their specific technologies. So it's actually a good thing I started purchasing started putting money into the game, because I'm going to need training ground SSR items to upgrade these new techs as well as the new soldiers. In addition to that, I already talked about the new banner, so we'll just skip that quickly. And there's also new optimizations and adjustments, right? The main story will now get the new chapters, 48 to 50. Secret Realm Dungeons. Angelica's Training School has a new level 65 stage, and the Energy Gym will feature the new level 70 stage. So I'm going to have to start grinding my Energies like crazy. There will be a new class reset function available for Matthew. So after you clear level 50 of the main story, you will be able to obtain a special class reset item, and that class reset item will allow you to change Matthew's class, obviously, right? Currently, Matthew has his hero class as well as a second class. You can now reset that. So if you have an assassin Matthew, for example, you want to change him to flyer or cavalry class or archer class, you have this opportunity. Keep in mind though, you only get one of these items as far as I know, so you can only class reset once. It's a one-time thing, but you can always keep it on hand to reset in the future. I'm quite happy with my Archer Matthew overall, so I'm just going to leave him as the Archer. The Archer Matthew does have less PvP utility, but for PvE content, well, I use him to clear Hugin and Munin. So until I build a second attacker up, it's perfectly fine for me to leave Matthew as the Archer. In addition to that, there will be a very useful change to me, summoning optimizations. When summoning from summoning banners that grant an increased chance to summon certain heroes, except for new hero banners, if you summon an event summon hero you already have upgraded to 6 stars, you will obtain the Space-Time Essence. You can exchange the Space-Time Essence and the memory shards of a hero at max stars for memory shards of the other heroes that currently have an increased chance of being summoned. So you can exchange space-time essence and memory shards up to 2 times per hero. Very useful feature. What that effectively means is, I'm just going to bring up the summoning banner once more. So, for example, presumably for banners like this, Landius and Bozo would be the perfect example. If let's say I will have Landius at 6 stars, but my Bozo will be at 5 stars. That means if I summon on this banner, I will be able to trade my Landius shards, if I get Landius, for Bozo shards. If I get off-banner heroes, I believe I'm screwed, simply put. But, you know, it's a very useful feature where you can start trading characters that you have at 6 stars for the other characters on the banner. It makes summoning on these kind of banners much more worth considering. The interesting question is, I'm not sure if it applies to these kind of banners, the Destiny Summon banners, right? But we'll see when, for example, the Tiaris Luna Claret banner comes up. Because I do have Tiaris at 6 stars, I do have Luna at 6 stars. My first summon will get me a guaranteed Claret. But potentially, if I summon even further on this banner, could I trade Tiaris and Luna shards for Claret? That will be the interesting thing to see. With that said, I highly doubt I will summon on this banner. I have absolutely no need for Claret. I don't plan to ever raise her up to 6 stars, which is where Claret would become useful. So effectively, I will probably just flat out skip this banner. I don't need a copy of Claret, and I'd rather save up my Trinity vouchers at this point in preparation for the Yu Yu Hakusho banners. In truth, I will likely also ignore the Rainforce and Betty banner. I'll go over why shortly when I talk about the heroes in brief. But let's continue. So I'm going to jump back in the game one more time to talk about some of the other new additions that are mentioned in this announcement. Alright, so after the summoning optimization, there is challenge for a new level 65 joint battle map with significantly increased rewards. It's about time. You know, we've been farming the level 60 version for a lot of months now, so a level 65 version will be nice to see. There is also a new daily mission, Manifest Destiny, complete 1 Gate of Fate stage. I honestly don't know what that means. We'll see with the release on Thursday. And 3 new feats will be added to the game. You can get feat rewards by logging into the game for a specified number of days in total. Love confessions for the following heroes will be unlocked: Leticia and Angelica. Neither of them are really considered top tier for PvP. They're more PvE use, so I'm not sure if you'll actually consider putting resources to upgrade their heart bonds, but there's love confessions for them now. Gate of Fates will be unlocked for the new SSR heroes, and there will be new exclusive items added to the Secret Realm store. Ledin's Trial of Faith, as well as Almeda's whatever. The 2 world map background music pieces will be added to the music collection. And finally, in order to thank commanders for their long-term support, when Christmas is approaching, we'll restore the prices of all quantities of Trinity Crystals to their initial states and purchase any quantity of Trinity Crystals to get double the numbers. Well, I never purchased Trinity Crystals in the first place, so that won't do anything for me, but for people who have purchased Trinity Crystals once, their next first purchase will get double the Trinity Crystals. Finally, there are, I guess, stage and battle adjustments, right? They will adjust various difficulty levels of certain main stage battles. So 36, 40, 41, 43, 44, Spirit of Langrisser 1 to 5, and Chapter 48. So it may mean that my current guides to these stages will no longer be accurate. It is what it is. Second, Secret Realm Blessing. When the hit point recovery effect is triggered by AoE attacks, this special effect will trigger for all affected units at the same time, instead of being triggered one at a time. That's a good thing. It's usually when you get hit by an AoE like Macho Blast, right? It takes time for all the AoEs to heal up all your characters. So this will be a bit of a time saver. They fixed an issue where Elwin and his party would appear at the first round of the main story chapter 5. I have no recollection of this happening, but sure, there's a bug there. They fixed a problem where Yulia's character model would be displayed incorrectly in some main story chapters. Fixed a problem where the Hellfire Archer soldiers' special shooting effect will not be displayed properly in battle. And fixed a problem where additional magic defense reduced by 50% effect of Kurama's demonic plant would not work on some bosses in the Ancient Beckoning dungeon. This is kind of funny because this is clearly a copy-paste error, right? Kurama's not even in the game yet for us, but they've already fixed the bug with him. Finally, other adjustments include the following, right? Ancient Beckoning Dungeon, you can now view your current damage evaluation in real time, and you can view the damage values required for each evaluation tier, which is a very, very good thing, right? Knowing how, instead of having to memorize how much damage you need to do to hit certain ranks, you can just see it in the battle. When fighting in a team, if you were in auto battle mode in the previous battle, the next battle is on the same stage, you will be in auto battle mode after entering, okay? I guess it's a nice positive because you don't have to turn on auto battle manually anymore, right? It will just be on. Your opponent's hero levels will be hidden in the Apex Arena pick band phase. And finally, fix the problem where Ancient Beckoning highest ranking information would not be displayed properly. So, quite a lot of changes with this major update. So it is coming out this Thursday on December 19th. I'll quickly now jump into, let me see, the Langrisser mobile website. So here we go. Alright, so major update 12, the returning magic sword. Let's see if there's any additional things mentioned here. Well, we've already talked about the strategic evolution of the training ground. We've already talked about the new hero function where the banners, right? So, additional information here. When summoning from Destiny Summon or Special Summoning banner featuring 2 selected event heroes, so it does apply for both. So, focus banners as well, focus banners, or as they call them, Destiny Summon, or the 2 hero banners. It will apply to both. It just doesn't apply to banners for brand new heroes. So, nice positive here. So theoretically, once again, if I choose to summon on the Tierras Luna Claret banner, I could get 150 shards of Claret, as long as I get heroes that are on banner, right? Because you're allowed to trade twice. So in other words, my first summon is guaranteed to be Claret. My second summon, if I get Tierras or Luna, I can trade for Claret. And then my third summon, once again, if I get Tierras and Luna, I can trade for Claret again. So that's 150 shards guaranteed of a hero I need. And of course, if you get multiple copies of Claret, you can trade for even more copies of her. Right? So it's a very nice feature for longtime players to be able to focus on heroes that they currently don't have and get them leveled up properly. Much needed in truth. And then the Echo of Light will have 2 skins, of course. Rainforce's Medicine Man skin, and then Betty's limited edition Crimson Sword skin, specially illustrated by Satoshi Urushihara. Right. So it's her. It will make Betty look like herself in the original artist's drawn method. So as opposed to looking like this, a more modern version, you're going retro style with Betty. Alright, so let's quickly take a look and see if there's any new additional information here in the specific major update page, and there doesn't seem to be, right? It still talks about the new heroes, once again, strategic evolution, and once again, the hero exchange function. Alright, so with the website information covered as well, let's now talk about Rainforce and Betty. And first things first, I'm also going to bring up the exclusive items page because Almeda and Ledin both get their items. So this, for all this information, I'm just going to refer to the Langrisser because, you know, it's information from, let's say, the Chinese server, the Chinese wiki translated. So Almeda's weapon, right? It provides int plus 10%. It looks like a staff with tentacles on top. Oh dear lord. That explains the name, doesn't it? And what it does is, after attacking, the enemy's movement is reduced by 1 grid and it disables guard for 1 turn. So it looks like the second effect is a mobility debuff with guard disable, right? So that effect should be guarded against by Overlord's Badge. But yeah, I would say this would be a weapon for PvE content clearing if you use Almeda in your party, right? You can disable Lancer guards so other characters can attack successfully. So that's Almeda's exclusive. Ledin's exclusive, we'll just scroll down, is the following. Defense plus 5%, magic defense plus 5%. And after killing an enemy, Ledin will gain a buff where, if taken fatal damage, restores hit points that was lost. And it has a 2-turn cooldown. This one is huge for Ledin, right? Ledin's biggest issue thus far has been that he has no ability to revive the way Landius does, the way Vargas does, the way Emilia will be able to revive as well. Ledin's exclusive will allow him to do so, which makes him much more usable for content where you had to previously worry that he would die. The problem, of course, is in terms of PvP content, Ledin is highly unlikely to be able to kill off an enemy to activate this buff. So, you know, Ledin remains very PvE focused. You know, it's a huge bonus for Ledin in truth that he can revive at this point after killing off an enemy. The other factor is it probably won't kick in for challenges, right? Most of the challenge battles don't really have you kill off enemies, so Ledin will still probably be vulnerable there to dying. But in the first place, for most people, Ledin won't die in truth. If you have Tiaras combined with Ledin, Healing Light will keep Ledin healthy and he's highly unlikely to ever die. So there we go. Those are the exclusives, the newly released ones, and now we're going to talk about the 2 new heroes. So, the first new hero is Rainforce, and Rainforce has the talent Celestial Power, where after dealing damage to an enemy unit, you gain 1 Celestial Power. All stats except hit points are increased by a certain percentage, 1, 2, 3, or 4%, up to 7 times. And when Rainforce gains 7 stacks, he can act again after this turn. After this extra turn, you teleport to the nearest ally and remove all stacks of Celestial Power. As far as I know about Rainforce, is that a lot of people on the Chinese server tried to make use of him for PvP, and they failed. So overall, I would say Rainforce is pretty much a hard pass. The interesting thing is he does have, let's say, a line attack here with Celestial Wanderer to basically break your opponent's last rites, for example. He has Roundabout to be able to attack and retreat, and because he's a Swordsman or Assassin class, he can be either a 1 range attacker or a 2 range attacker. He does have Air Slash, and I think that really sums up most of the way he works. Oh, I suppose I should talk about his Eclipse skill, right? Which is his ultimate skill. 2 costs, 5 turn cooldown, a range of 4, and a span of 2. It teleports you to that chosen square and deals 0.3 times AoE damage to enemies within 2 squares of you, and steals 1 buff from them. If a crit occurs, it can also apply a strong debuff on the enemies. And then finally, Celestial Prince can give him the skill command to increase allied skills. And then Star Thrust, which is a 7-line line attack, which deals 0.53 times AoE damage, and when attacking, teleport the unit to the furthest square in this skill's range. If this attack hits 2 or more enemies, their positions are randomly interchanged. So, yeah, I mean, Starthrust is supposed to be able to cause confusion amongst the enemies. You know, Eclipse lets you teleport forward and steal buffs and deal AoE damage. But again, what I hear, or my understanding is, tons of people try to make use of Rainforce for PvP, and they just couldn't get him to work properly. So take that as you will. This is one reason why I don't really plan on to draw on this upcoming banner. Right. Next will be Betty. Betty is actually pretty interesting. She reduces area of effect attack damage by 10, 15, 20, and 30% damage. And after an ally within 2 to 3 blocks is attacked, the attacker will take fixed damage equal to 1 times Betty's attacks. This effect cannot be nullified. And will also have a percentage chance, 10, 15, 20, and 30% chance to apply a random debuff on the enemy. Afterwards, Betty's attack and magic defense will increase by a certain percentage, 10, 13, 16, and 20%. It lasts 2 turns. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of like Luna. Luna provides a magic damage reduction, Betty provides an AoE attack reduction, right? In addition to that, Betty herself is infantry class, and she is basically an infantry tank. She can get a 1-point skill, counter attack, and she can get a 2-point skill, the Iron Fist skill, for 2 guard range. In addition to that, she has a Savage attack skill, where as long as she uses the skill on defensive terrain, she can stun the enemy before combat. And finally, she has additional effects like Sword Breath, where after attacking, she can deal damage in 1 ring around self for 0.1 times AoE damage. For 0.1 times damage, right? I believe this effect can be comboed with Balance Blade. She has Skill Support, which can provide an adjacent ally plus 20% skill, as well as immunity to heal reversal, which can be huge, and cannot act against effects. Right? This is a huge buff for PvE purposes. And finally, there's other things like Light Reflect, where she gets additional healing and additional stats when being melee attacked. Light Reflect is basically the same skill Ledin has. She has Iron Helmet, which I actually used on Landius for Hugin and Munin, right? When attacked with a range attack, you have a 25% chance to reduce damage taken by 50%. And finally, she has a 1-point Solidarity skill, which increases defense and magic defense of all allied units within 2 range by 5%. And last but not least, Skill Intimidate, reducing enemy skill of all enemies within 2 squares, and it lasts 1 turn. So, in a lot of ways, Betty seems to be configured as a potential PvP tank, right? The drawback, of course, is Betty is an infantry class tank, although she can equip, let's say, a lot of Lancer class soldiers like Crystal Titans, Dark Centurion, Stone Colossus, as well as cavalry soldiers like Guardian Cavalry and Dragoons. So she does have a mix of infantry, Lancer, and cavalry soldiers, which can make her viable despite being an infantry class as a tank. Her main utility, of course, would be the area of effect damage reduction, right? A lot of people are suffering and struggling against Leonhard right now. With the AoE damage reduction, Leonhard will no longer be able to kill characters. Now, as for drawbacks of using Betty, the first one I would say is her factions, right? Legion of Glory, Empire, and Dark. It may be hard to get a character to faction buff up Betty in battle, right? Because most of the other characters who would faction buff her are either tanks or can be tanks, or Bozel. For example, you're talking about Ledin as a faction buffer, you're talking about Bernhard as a faction buffer, although I suppose Elwyn can faction buffer, as well as Leon. And yeah, I guess this really sums it up. The thing though is ultimately, even though Betty seems like a PvP oriented character, once again, she wasn't a character that was actually used in any of the Chinese server Apex boxes for the playoffs. So in the end, it may be that she just seems like she could be very useful for PvP, but practically she wasn't at the end of the day. So there we have it, the 2 new heroes. This was a long introduction to the update, but nonetheless, I hope you found this information useful. So on that note, Nitro out.